You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, good evening. It is Thursday, April the 12th, 2018, and we are about 15 minutes past the hour, so we've got a late start this evening, but we're going to do the whole show anyway, so how are you guys? I'm one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson. She's the other half of the crew, Miss Jen Homesteader. I'll let her give you her official name now, because I can't ever pronounce it right. But anyway, so how are you? What is it, JandR the Destroyer? Is that what you are this week?
I'm good. Are you referring to my my lengthy title?
Yes.
JandR the Destroyer, Queen of Darkness, Conqueror of Earth?
Yes, that would be the one I was referring to, because it has like 19 syllables, and I'm like, I'll give you the JandR the Destroyer part, but the Queen of Darkness, Ruler of Earth, yeah, I've sort of kind of met you, not buying that last part.
Oh, it's pretty funny. It's also really funny that I've committed it entirely to memory. But yeah, I'm doing all right.
You've doubled down on the scary name. Nice.
Totally. 19
million syllables. She's committed every single one to memory because it's just that funny. It actually is kind of funny. But so anyway, I don't know. There's no shortage of anything to talk about. But as usual, we didn't really have much of a chance to coordinate beforehand. So where do you want to go?
I don't know. I do want to say something real quick about this college girl who took the picture with the Women for Trump shirt, and she has the handgun stuffed in the waistband of her super tight white pants, and she's lifting up the shirt to bare her midriff to show the gun, and she's like looking off into the distance, and liberals went crazy over it, but then conservatives went in like a really weird way in defending it, and especially against other conservative women who are like, okay, well, that's not really any different from any other selfie that a teenage girl does for attention. And it's like, how dare you? She's all about 2A, and she is absolutely like standing up for the people that can't be heard in this country. And it's like, whoa, bro. Like, me and a couple other people were just kind of like, I don't care. I don't care if you like the photo, but it did go viral, which is why we even saw it, is because it went viral. And, I just kind of thought it was a cheap trick, and several other people did too. But, that's fine. If you like it, and if you're the kind of person that wants to do stuff like that, and you want to get 15,000 Instagram followers because you're going to show cleavage and guns and be a cute girl with the cleavage and guns, then more power to you. But that doesn't mean that I can't comment on it and be like, obviously it's for attention. And then everyone be like, no, it's not. Absolutely not. I'm going to make this the most noble stand ever and project on this person that they absolutely were doing everything because they love our country and they love the Constitution. And so that's the only thing it's about. And she should be applauded for how amazing she is for having the courage to stand up with her gun and take that picture. It's just so dramatic. And like, if it's anything else that some teenager did, they would be mocking it and going, oh, was it necessary that she showed her stomach off? Oh, was it necessary that she did this or that? It just got so overblown, and it just turned into like people attacking other people, even on the same side. Like, no one was allowed to have a differing opinion and go, I think that picture was kind of stupid and she obviously wanted the attention. And it's like, no, how dare you say that? And so several of us got called a lot of names today, including accused of being a liberal, which is, pretty par for the course from Trump fans. But also was the response that is just kind of like guttural from people when a woman criticizes another woman. You're just jealous. I mean, one of my friends who just kind of made a statement, I saw her get at least 20 or 30 of those. It's like, you're just jealous. You should just STFU. And I think it is one of the laziest retorts. Whenever a woman criticizes another woman, it's almost instantaneous that 5 or 6 people will respond that way, no matter what the reason is or why the person has the opinion or if there's something else behind that opinion. The go-to is that, she's just jealous and she's not as good as her or good looking as her or as smart as her or as hot as her or whatever it is. And so she's just jealous. And it's not because we can have dissenting opinions and I'm not just boiled down to my petty, silly femininity that makes me just jealous of every other woman who's a little bit different than me. I mean, it's getting so tired. So I just want to say to everybody, I don't care if you like the photo or not. Like it. That's fine. But I'm not trying to sit around and don't pretend like there was some noble cause and this is some really impactful statement being made, and stop impressing that on a college girl who took a photo with a gun in her Women for Trump shirt. And good for her that she didn't care to put it out there. It went viral, and it's going to be critiqued and it's going to be applauded. So get over it. Okay, so one point of order. The person in the photo is actually 21 because she is a senior in college. I'm only stipulating that because what I'm about to say is going to sound like a dirty old man. There was a gun in that picture. All I saw was a hot chick with a midriff. Well, see, this is exactly the point that several of us made. Let's not pretend that she didn't style the photo in that way, put herself in the position. Let's not pretend she's 21 years old, like you said. She's an attractive girl, and she's not stupid, right? She's graduating from college. She's not an idiot. So she knew exactly what she was doing. Now, did she think it would go viral? Probably not, but I know she knew she would get a lot of attention from that picture, and she did. So let's stop pretending like that wasn't most of the purpose of her posting it, was to get the attention. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. Just don't lie about it and try to white knight for her as if there's some like she's the next founder of or she's the next amendment writer for our Constitution or something. It's just so stupid.
So it's kind of funny that you open with this particular fem on fem rant, so to speak, because I didn't have much of a chance to pay attention, but I did kind of see it kind of spilling over into my TL occasionally. But there was another fem on fem rant within, I think it was the last 24 to 48 hours. I guess Meghan McCain is taking some flack on The View and getting some rather harsh responses from other female viewers and some blue checks about the fact that she apparently likes to yell and scream over the other women on the panel. Have you watched that show? They all yell and scream over each other. That's kind of how it works. So I'm not sure why it's okay for Joy and Whoopi to do that, but not Meghan. But that's just me.
Well, there's just one real reason why. And we all know what it is. Because they don't agree with her. They like it when they did the same thing to Elizabeth Hasselbeck. They called her Harpy. And they always talked about her screeching and about how she was just disrespectful and indignant. And it's like, oh, because she had a different opinion and she also said it, and then they unleashed on her and would scream at her and sometimes get up and walk away from the table and stomp off. They'd get so annoyed because they can't tolerate any dissent. They just can't even fathom it.
Yeah, no, and then, well, that's actually one of the things that I find the most amusing lately because, like it or not, our side's starting to become the same way in a lot of ways. Not all of us, but it's a growing segment of the conservative population that is like, ban all the things, shut everybody up that I don't agree with. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know that it's all that new per se. I just think that it's getting louder.
We're noticing it more, and it's more prominent now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there's always the blind aspects to any movement where, they're just completely hypocritical and they just scream over people, or they refuse to ever hold an intellectual or honest debate, or allow for dissenting opinions and critique them in a constructive way. That's kind of always there, but it just seems really loud right now. And we've complained about it on the left, from them putting people in front of microphones that are extremely politically biased, and they show it constantly. Pretty much everything on MSNBC, quite a few, hosts on CNN, and it's just not even hidden at all. I mean, they don't even attempt to pretend to be objective. But again, like, the bad guys was always Fox News, and like, they were the ones that didn't attempt to be objective. They were the ones that were biased. They were the only ones that were biased because it was the wrong kind of bias, right? According to the rest of the mainstream media. Well, Fox is just like almost unwatchable now, because it's like they just finally went, screw it. We're just going to go the complete flip side of the coin and be as insane as we can possibly be too, and not give a damn about objectivity. Which, to be fair, some of these people are just pundits, and they don't mean to be. I mean, and they provide entertainment for some journalistic aspects, but attempted a bit of objectivity before, and now it's just all out like Trump humping 90% of the time.
Yeah, I honestly can't even remember the last time I turned on Fox News, which is actually kind of a sad thing. I really, really, really used to like Fox News before they lost their minds. Mm-hmm. I really did. I mean, but I'm talking like going back to like old school days, back when it was like not just Hannity, but Hannity and Combs. The interesting thing about Hannity, and Combs is Combs was Hannity's anchor. He kept him from going completely off to one side and just completely spinning off track like he's done for the last few years.
What was the show on CNN that Tucker used to be on? Like, I loved Tucker when he was on that show. What was it? It had like rotating hosts, but it was a lot of the same people.
Was it Crossfire that he was on?
Crossfire. Yes. He was on Crossfire, and it was on, a lot of times it was him and, James, what's his face with the glasses and the Louisiana or Southern accent, New Orleans accent.
You're talking about Rosenthal?
Gosh, no, Carville. Gosh, I am so like off on my names tonight for some reason. But James Carville and Tucker going at it was always so good. It was such good TV. And then I don't even know what's happened with him either. Like, he at least used to have some pretty reasonable debate, and now it seems like he just does his stupid, what face and just tries to play gotcha on everything. And I'm not real big on that.
Yeah, Jen just said bye, guys. Hey, nice. We're going to take a really quick break. I'm not sure what happened, but hopefully we can get her back in just a second because, fun times. Be right back.
My son was in the Army back. Wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous...
tired of no one. I'm tired of is Skype being retarded. All right, so we're back. So's my co-host. So now we can continue. So where were we before Skype? I still blame Alexa and the NSA and Facebook and Zucker-Nerd. Jack.
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally Zuckerberg's fault. By the way, if I never saw a picture of his face again, I would be totally fine. I would be ecstatic, actually. Like, every time I'm on anything social media or just even going onto a website or whatever, like, there's a pop-up, there's a this, there's a that, and, like, just the pictures and even the memes, which some of them have been really funny, especially the ones about him, like, being an alien or, any of those. Some of them have been really funny, but, I mean, it's constant. All over my feed is just pictures of his dopey face, and I'm so sick of it.
Note to self, randomly send Jen texts of Zuckerberg's face.
I mean, he's not attractive. Sorry. Not sorry.
Dude, so here's the thing. I don't know if I've just never really paid attention to what he looked like before, but dude is the classic example of a nerdy IT troll. I mean, he's just got the long, gangly alien arms, got the big bulbous head with the blank stare, and I'm like, dude, is there anybody even in there? Because it's kind of creepy. The booster
and by the way, this is just such an embarrassment. Like, it's just such an embarrassment. The hearings. I mean, the congressman is just comical. Like, they don't know anything about this stuff. They're trying to ask him these questions. He's got all of these notes. Well, and I know they got him kind of caught up a few times, but, like, some of these questions were just so ridiculous and so stupid. It was like, Mark, so when you put the thing on the thing and then you type and then you point and then you click, I mean, it might as well have been like that, like some of the things that were being said. Well, and then in addition, they go off on him about about his pick mashup site that he did first. It's like, who cares? What are you trying to establish here?
Well, to be fair, I mean, some of the senators that were asking him questions still have rotary phones and get to work on horse and buggy. So is it really surprising that they don't understand?
That's what technology? I mean. I was like, you have a flip phone, Senator. Maybe you should sit this one out.
The funny thing is watching the comparison as far as, the dichotomy of responses from because everybody was talking about the Cruz questioning. So the funny thing is to go to left-leaning Facebook pages and stuff and watch their responses versus going to right-leaning Facebook pages, right-leaning Twitter accounts and watching their back and forth responses, because the left was absolutely convinced that Zuckerberg owned Cruz. I'm not sure if they were watching the same videos I was watching, because Zuckerberg really looks like he could be, if they ever decide to do a remake of Star Trek The Next Generation, Brent Spiner's character's covered. Just saying.
Yeah, I saw the picture where someone put him in the in the uniform. Looks pretty good.
It's pretty much spot on. But the fact that he would not only was he testifying in front of the Senate, but doing so in a booster chair. I felt like I was watching an episode of Family Guy.
I mean, it just all seems pretty silly to me. I think looking into some of these, into the finer points of the legalities of the situation with the various data is one to be had, but this whole bringing him in for this, kind of pseudo interrogation, but part fangirling thing by Congress was just pretty stupid, and like I said, really embarrassing on behalf of our congressmen and the way that they were trying to scramble to say anything to him as if they had a clue.
Yeah, it was really kind of scary. That was the only thing that I'll give folks props on, because the folks on the other side were like, oh my God, can you listen to these senators? They don't even have any idea what they're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, some of them really don't. It was really kind of scary. But,
they were like, oh, let me get on that book face. And I know my wife is on it. She likes our grandkids' photos on it. That's how it seemed like.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be discussing the Book of Face.
And it's like, dude, so when I want to save a picture, I just take a picture of the screen, right? I mean, that's basically what it seemed like.
Yeah, But I mean, but isn't that part of the problem, though? I mean, we've gotten to the point where everything is so technological, and we have an entire governing body that doesn't even understand how the technology works, and now they're up there trying to question the guy that invented it to tell him how he shouldn't be policing anything when they're trying to figure out a way of whether or not they should be policing it. Look, the simple fact of the matter is nobody should be policing anything. Just saying.
There's the rub, right? They're like, no, we want to control it. Like, not you. We want to control it. Which, by the way, I also saw a lot of really funny comments, and we had a good laugh with the Misfits about this, of a couple people that were like, oh, they can't, sorry, a bunch of us saying, well, it's private industry, private business, whatever, like, it sucks, but you sign up for it when you sign up. So, just read the fine print if you're that worried about it. And they can do whatever they want. They could make it a devil worshiper site, and we can't really do anything about it. And someone's like, oh, no, they're publicly traded now, so they're not a private company anymore.
That's not how that works.
WTF face? Like, I'm not sure you understand what words mean. And then when someone explained that was not true at all, and that there was, in fact, a very big difference between publicly held, as in like being a public entity, like a service through the government, or a public holding of the government, and then being publicly held through, through actual people and stockholders. It was like, I freaking know that. Don't treat me like I'm an idiot. And it was like, then don't go around saying that they can't do things because they're publicly traded. Yes, they can. It's so stupid. And there were a lot of those. I saw tons of tweets like that, where people have completely no idea what they're talking about, and they're just spouting off. And a ton of Republicans and conservatives are the ones doing it. And they're saying, oh, whatever happened to 1A? Well, this isn't a First Amendment issue. Now, there are other things that they're looking into that could be an issue if they've adequately disclosed what they are going to do with your data and all of that kind, and how much they're monitoring. But, I mean, when did we become the side that says, restrict this or don't restrict that because we're going to tell you, a private company, what to do because I want my free speech, when free speech isn't applicable here? Now, should it be? I think for a company that has a social media platform, that's what their business is. I think they should treat it like First Amendment rights, but they don't have to because they're still a private company. And when did we become the party that wants to control those companies and tell them what they can and can't do? It's really frustrating.
I mean, it's like we're talking about the fascistic, is that even a word, tendencies of the left, while seeing the right start trying to gravitate back towards that too. Look, I don't want honestly, when it comes right down to it, as far as, speech, especially thought, one of the most disturbing things about one of the things that the Zuckerberg 9000 was talking about when it was sitting in front of the Senate was the fact that they have AI algorithms that they're actually training to be able to stop people from uttering what they consider hate speech. But when asked, he couldn't say what hate speech was. The problem with that is if you really want to get right down to it, from a pure 1A perspective, there's no such thing as hate speech. There are things that can offend you. There are things that can piss you off, but there's nothing that from a pure First Amendment perspective should ever be considered hate speech, because no matter who says what, you have the ability to stop using the platform, find another platform, make another platform, turn around and walk away, or start a protest of your own right across the street. That's kind of the point of 1A. The Supreme Court just basically said that the First Amendment does not give you a right to not be offended. That's what we have going on with Facebook right now. That's my biggest issue with Facebook. It's not all the algorithms and all the other things that they've done and the data mining. I'm a little pissed that I'm not making any money off of the fact that they're selling my data and making money off of me. But I'm just more jealous that I didn't come up with the idea, to be quite frankly honest. I pulled the app off of my phone because I have an older Android phone, and now that I see some of the things that it can do behind the scenes, I don't have the ability to turn some of that stuff off, and I don't like the fact that a program can take control of my text messages, my microphone, and my camera without me being able to tell it yes or no. I would like you to be able to do that, because you have to accept it. Now on newer Android phones, so if you have, because I have I think it's like a Galaxy 5 or something, because I'm old and I don't like replacing technology.
You dinosaur!
I know, right? But hey, at least it's not a flip phone. Just saying. At least if I was sitting there in the Senate, I would look cool because it looks like an actual phone. It's like 10 years old, but it looks like an actual phone. But anyway, so that being said, so I don't have the ability, because on the newer phones, you can actually go into a sub-menu for Facebook and go in and actually turn things on and off even after you've kind of accepted their little 14-page thing where you got to read it and click the box to even be able to proceed. And then they make the print as small as possible, so old people like me are like, what the hell does that say? I just click on it, it'll be all right. And we're like, what the hell did we just click on? Because that's terrifying. You're right. So I mean, so I pulled Facebook off my phone, which honestly I'm kind of I hate to freely admit this, but I'm kind of going through withdrawals because I didn't realize how often, like, if work was slow, I was flipping between like Twitter and Facebook. It's like half of my information is gone because I don't have Facebook on my phone anymore because I can't access it from work, which is why I always kind of liked having it on my phone till I realized that it was like could have been secretly spying on me. That's my own issue because I come from a security background. So the fact that then I freely admit that I'm probably overreacting, but it's part of my training. So it's off my phone. But so the whole thing with all this though is he specifically said there's going to come a day when people are going to be typing something and there's going to be an artificial intelligence response and it's going to be, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't allow you to type that, Dave. I've seen how that movie ends. No.
Yeah, no, that won't be any fun. And I do think that that's kind of something that could, unfortunately, happen with all of this, all of this new technology. But I think you're right, though. Like, a lot of people are freaking out, and the thing is like, don't use the services that are going to do that to you. And I know for me, I'm kind of like giving up because I feel like there's not any service that isn't somewhat doing that to me. And obviously I can make some limits to that, and I can, enable some settings and everything to limit it a little bit. But like at this point, I think we're just screwed. If you have an online footprint at all, I think they can get everything.
Oh, and that unfortunately is pretty much true. I mean, what scares me is the thing that nobody's talking about, because, up until now, we've always talked about this idea called a neural net. For those of you that are sci-fi nerds, you know what I'm talking about. It's basically an artificial intelligence construct that works basically, it's an artificial version of the human brain. Up until now, it's basically been an impossibility. But with all of these different data mining programs that they have now been able to find a way to start actually building what would be considered a neural net, and they have hundreds of artificial intelligence algorithms that are now learning using those data mining techniques. But the problem is, because everybody's always assumed, with our artificial intelligence, it'll be neutral. No, it won't, because the problem is artificial intelligence is still learning, and it's learning based on the information that it has access to, and it's learning based on information that is being provided by its handlers, which are all in Silicon Valley, which all lean very sharply to the left. So if you're wondering why all these new algorithms that they're slowly starting to sneak into the system go completely nuts on anything pretty much right-leaning and only occasionally catch something left-leaning, there's your answer, because as this becomes more and more prominent, there's not going to be any way to get away from the bias, and that's my problem with it, because no, they shouldn't be screening the political beliefs of the people that they hire, but at the same time, if they're going to try to convince everybody that they're this neutral site, which they obviously are not, then they need to keep things as middle of the road as possible. And that means if you're going to be using artificial intelligence, you need to expose it to both sides so that it can make informed decisions as to what actually should be censored or shouldn't be censored. But again, it would be much easier if we would just say, hey, we're all adults. So if you don't like it, that's what the block button's for. You don't like it, take it off your phone. And again, I get it, because one of the things that everybody started going nuts about was when Facebook live streaming first started happening and people were streaming actual crimes. I understand that. But at the same time, as this stuff gets more and more prominent, because we know it's going to, because Facebook just actually bought rights to broadcast music. So we know that they're moving more and more into a streaming platform situation. So as that becomes more and more prominent, how are we going to stop it?
Yeah, I don't really know. And I think that when this just kind of all gets, I mean, I do think that that's kind of where we're headed. I still think it's quite a long way away, and we kind of prematurely freak out about all of this kind of thing. I mean, remember that in the 50s, they were told that they would be living, you know, their cars would be flying and they would be living on the moon and all of this stuff. And then the 60s roll around and they said they finally land on the moon and they're like, we're going to be living like the Jetsons by the 70s. And then the 70s roll around. They're still promising all these things. And then the 80s and then, you know, and so here we are in 2018 and we don't even have legitimate hoverboards. Okay. So Back to the Future and all of those things, you know, I'm a little bit disappointed because nobody ever followed through on all of their high-tech future promises until very recently. We're starting to get some of that technology because it is a tricky thing, and I have read some stuff by various developers, scientists, engineers that they have been in some ways hesitant on some fronts to continue to develop because they're afraid of where it could lead, and especially if that kind of technology falls into the wrong hands, which I think is an interesting look at it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to find a way to become adults in the room again. There's no way around that. There's no way to get past it. We're gonna have to find a way to become adults in the room again, or we're gonna have to basically decide that the government has to be the one to decide what we can and can't have. That's what concerns me about those hearings, because even the stuff that Cruz was talking about, while I give him props for talking about it, at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, you know, this really isn't much of your business because it's private company. Now,
right.
And now they're talking about antitrust laws and should they be breaking up Facebook? Should they be breaking up Google? That doesn't work, because the reason that worked with everything else was like with AT&T back when it was like the first AT&T, and it was all over the place. But there was like Southwestern Bell, and there was Bell Pacific, and Bell blah blah blah. They could break it up because there were regions. There's no regions for Facebook. So how are you supposed to be like, well, this is Facebook Texas and this is Facebook Oklahoma. Now we got Facebook California. That would be even more scary in my opinion. I don't ever want to see Facebook California. I'm just saying.
Well, I don't know. A good chunk of my feed is basically Facebook California. For anyone that doesn't know, I lived there for quite a bit when I was growing up, and then moved back there voluntarily when I was like 19, 20 years old. But so I have quite a bit of Facebook California running on my feed. I just ignore a lot of it. There are a lot of opinions that float around that I just don't look at. I mainly hang out on Facebook for to show my family that doesn't live in the area what's going on with us, and then to see other people's kids and families that I don't get to see often enough, and you know, look at some of the funny pictures that they post and everything. I tend to be pretty apolitical on my personal Facebook. On my, you know, political Facebook, which is a whole nother beast, I absolutely am political. But anyways, I find that it makes Facebook a lot more enjoyable when you just ignore all of the people that are trying to bait their good friends and family into politically divisive arguments that they know are just going to end up badly.
Yeah. And honestly, that's another reason why I kind of started staying off Facebook more and more, because this election cycle was terrible. And I would, you know, and I used to kind of evenly post things between like Facebook and Twitter, but I have my professional Facebook, which I honestly don't use that much anymore, because now everybody knows that I do this under a fake name, and who the hell cares? So I started posting a lot more stuff on my personal Facebook. Well, then I remembered why I wasn't doing that on my personal Facebook for a while, because I actually started coming under attack from legitimate family members because I was so anti-Trump in the beginning of all this. They're like, dude, next family gathering, we gonna get your ass. I'm like, uh-oh.
No, but that was true. I was having to hardly be on it, and I still, and actually it kind of broke me of the habit of being on during the election, was because I didn't want to take some of what I was seeing and apply it to that person in a very personal way. So I had some good friends and people that I've known, you know, all my life pretty much, that were posting just really outrageous things. And I have had political debates with these people in real life. In fact, that was basically my hobby in college. I had a key circle of friends. We would all hang out, and out of that group of friends, there was about 5 of us that were all really into government and politics and history, and we would either have some sort of discussion about something historical, or we would launch into some political debate. And this was during the George Bush years. I was in college over the 2004 election. So, and I know that everyone thinks that this was so rough on a liberal college campus. That election, I thought might kill me because of how vitriolic everybody was and how completely abrasive, how mean, how ugly, how rude. There were things thrown. There were screaming booths where like people were in the school mall and were promoting their organizations left and right, and they're just screaming at each other across the way, and somewhere around there a rock would get thrown or something like that. I mean, it was vicious, vicious, vicious stuff during that election. And we kind of and especially if you weren't in an environment like that, it was easy to not see as much. But everyone knows how even, in the news media, that was really awful. It was extremely aggressive towards Bush. There was a lot of hate. That was the days of Cindy Sheehan and a bunch of the anti-war protesters, where we had the body count ticker on the bottom of the screen for every day, all day, even during the commercials on most of the mainstream media shows or networks. But I still had these people, and everyone else would be partying, and don't get me wrong, we're drinking some beers, we're standing around a keg, and we would start, debating. And it was so invigorating. It was so much fun. We would definitely get really heated sometimes, and it would turn other people who didn't know us well off, and they'd kind of be like, oh crap, or should someone go break that up or whatever. But then we're hugging and refilling each other's beers at the end of the night, or after we finished that one topic of discussion. So these people that I was seeing on Facebook were the people that I've had these debates with, and we agree on a lot more than we don't. We just have this is kind of what you and I talked about last time, we have very different ideas of how to get to those end results that we all want. We want a more peaceful society. We want a more inclusive society. We want one that everyone can make better money, have less taken from them. We want our children to be safe. We want our health to be protected and to be treated as a high priority, and to not bankrupt us. I mean, there are so many things that we all agree on that it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We just have very different ideas of how to get there. And I was seeing these people that I know would not say this to my face or to any other Republican's face, say some very nasty and ugly things on Facebook. And I didn't want... I kind of broke myself of the habit of going on because it was starting to change my opinion of these people. It started making me think negative things of them, well, with the way she's posting, her poor kid, which is just awful. But you can't help but kind of go there at some point, because now you're thinking of them as a bad person because of how they're speaking. And so then you naturally go, oh, well, they must have a crappy life, or they must be not living life very well. They must treat people bad in real life because of how they're posting on there. And really, social media, as we know, gives so many people empowerment because they don't have to look anyone in the face. They sit behind that screen and they just bully and type away. And that it was just getting really ugly. And I just didn't want to see people that I normally like in real life, that their online behavior was turning me off of them.
Yeah, it really was just kind of a sad thing. And the worst thing is, we're sitting in, April of 2018, and it still feels like we're in the middle of 2016 because nothing's changed. It's all still the same. Everybody hates everybody. You're either for Trump or you're against Trump. You can't be in the middle. You can't be trying to say, well, I kind of agree with what he did here, but I don't know why the hell he's talking about TPP again when we all know how bad it is.
No, you have to take a side. You can't, call it like you see it. You can't wait and call the balls and strikes. You have to take a side right now. Are you with us or are you against us? And if you're against us, you're a Nazi. If you're with us, then, I'll like you until you disagree with me on one thing, and then I'm kicking you out of the club. I mean, it's just the purity tests on all sides, the tribalism on all sides. It's just also out of control. And tribalism has lost all meaning, really, because it's been so overused by people for things that really aren't all that tribalistic. But whatever. It's just all still such a mess.
So a couple quick things that we've kind of gone a little longer into these last couple topics that I had intended us to. So the next couple things are going to be a bit of a lightning round, but there are a couple different things I definitely wanted to talk about. So Senator Rand Paul has made a rather disturbing discovery. So back in January, he asked because, the stories started coming out about all these text messages between FBI agents that were basically really staunchly opposed to Trump and made snide comments about Trump supporters, Trump himself, yada, yada, yada. So he blatantly asked the question. So these people that are completely diametrically opposed to the current commander-in-chief, do they still have security clearances and have the ability to access information that they would have access to under normal security clearances? The answer to that question was a resounding yes. So Rand Paul yesterday, I don't know how I didn't see this until today. So Rand Paul yesterday, he puts out a tweet that says FBI admits that those that were texting inappropriate things about Trump and Trump supporters still have security clearances, which allow them to access sensitive private information.
Yeah, I had seen a couple people talking about this, and I didn't really know much about it, so I hadn't really ventured into tweeting about it at all. But that sounds bad. So
since I figured neither one of us had really had much of a chance to talk about it or look at it, I actually went and found the letters. So here's the original letter from January 30th, 2018. Director Wray, in light of recent reports describing Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's extensive discussion at work of their political vendetta against President Donald Trump, I am concerned about their continued access to sensitive private information, such as that contained in Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act FISA databases. Do Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page still have security clearances? Do Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page still have the ability to search FISA data or other classified databases? Is there a process in place to routinely analyze searches of databases by agents to ensure that such searches are not done for political or personal reasons? As you know, in 2013, the National Security Agency, NSA Office of the Inspector General, reported several instances that NSA agents who searched NSA databases for information regarding their spouses and love interest. James Madison warned that men are not angels. The exposure of political bias at the FBI is exactly why many of us advocate for greater oversight of the FBI, especially since recently passed legislation leaves FISA Section 702 surveillance largely without checks and balances. If openly biased agents such as Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page still have access to classified databases, one might argue that the FBI's internal controls are inadequate. Sincerely, Senator Rand Paul. I read that in its entirety. The response was much shorter. I'm just going to basically, it was like five sentences, so I'm going to give it to you in one. The short answer was yes, they still have clearances because they're still active FBI agents, and every FBI agent has to have an active security clearance. So that means they still have access to all of the things that I'm not necessarily sure
about. Wait, but as far as I know, at least this was the way it was when I had someone I knew in the FBI, that doesn't mean that they have all levels of security clearance. There are still various levels within any of these organizations.
Yeah, and that's kind of what
so it sounds like an excuse to be like, well, they have to have it because of this. Well, no, they don't have to specifically have the clearance for that kind of information. No, they don't.
Yeah, well,
as far as I know, I'm not an expert on it, but that's as far as what my understanding has always been, and then some of my personal, knowledge and then also research is that there are so many layers, and sometimes people that are even investigating something don't get read into all the security, don't get to read into all of it because they don't get the security clearance for what they're actually investigating, because that has to go through all these other layers. So I just have a hard time believing it's like all or nothing with every FBI agent. There's no way.
Well, I think what that actually probably means, because there are different types of security clearances. Rand Rand Paul was specifically asking about top secret clearances. There are actually different levels of clearances. So there's and I'm not trying to say all the names because I'm not sure. So I think there's one that's kind of like right below top secret, where it's kind of considered classified information, so they still have access to it. And then there's top secret, and then I know there are at least 2 or 3 more that are above top secret. So I think what they're trying to say is at the FBI agent level, they all have the same type of clearance, and those same type of clearances allow them to access those particular databases. So there wouldn't really be any way for them to be able to remain active field agents without being able to have access to those, because they're all part of the same clearance level. That's my take on it.
I still don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think they can limit anything they freaking want from anyone they want.
Well, I'm sure they probably could. I
know for certain that someone that I knew that worked on a certain project, that like they were read into clearance, like they got clearance specifically for like this, and they could only access it from a very specific, like their office computer was the one that was approved, and it had to go through all of these levels of verification before you could even access those. And even still, they weren't allowed access to the entire file. They were allowed access to X, Y, and Z. And then that also gave them clearance for this type of conference, and it gave them clearance for this type. So it was extremely detailed and specific what they were given clearance for, and the FBI from their internal controls could manipulate that to make sure that that agent didn't get more than what they were supposed to. So I'm just saying, I think it was a canned response, and I don't buy it. I don't buy that that's like impossible for them to deal with. But I also understand that they're still working for the FBI, and so I don't really know what you do about that. You're always going to have biased agents, unfortunately. You can't just fire all of them because they don't agree politically or personally with the president of the United States. I don't know how you fix that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how to fix any of it. Oh, by the way, Comey's releasing a book. Not that anybody cares. Anybody needed a coaster? Might be a good investment for that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be reading it. I wonder if one of those accounts, there's a couple of accounts on Twitter that go through books like this, and then they like tweet out like pages and like key paragraphs and pieces. I bet one of them is doing this, and maybe I'd go read their feed for a little bit to get the gist and to get the juiciness, and then not have to read through all the other mundane crap.
Actually, in probably 3 or 4 days, I'll probably have an email from somebody that has one of those PDF copies that are for like advanced copies. They're like, "Hey, you want to read this?" I'll be like, "No," but they're like, "It'll be free. It's free." I'm like, "Nah, not interested." that happens a lot. I get emails from folks like, "Hey, man, you should check this book out and see if they want to come on your show." I'm like, "Yeah, no. If they want to come on my show, they can reach out." It's not like if they're having you contact me, they already know how to get a hold of me. So, yeah. If I do an author have an author on my show, it's usually because I've talked to them first and I actually have at least have some interest in their book. I have zero interest in whatever the hell Comey has to say or whatever Comey's trying to sell, because I never really liked the guy that much to begin with, one way or the other, because he's always been a waffler. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know a whole lot about him until everything started going down, but.
He doesn't exactly seem. I don't know. He just doesn't exactly seem like someone who is really has a lot of courage of conviction in his convictions. And also that there's a lot of stuff that supposedly is in this book that he's been hanging on to. And if you felt like you were so indebted to America, and that for the greater good of this country and for the service that you've provided, and for our national security that you think is so, terribly under threat, you've held on to this until you got a book deal, until the book was finished. I mean, come on, that's just baloney.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently, I guess even better now. Comey's trending on Twitter. Yay!
Well, that's all right. It's better than David Hogg.
Well, that's true. So, oh wait, did you hear? He's decided he's taking a year off from college to remain politically active. Translation. I even got rejected from Krusty's Clown College, so I got nowhere else to go.
Well, and I think so much of that, because he does seem to have quite a bit of, in a lot of ways, have some of an ego, that I think that it surprised me at first that he put out there that he was rejected from all of these colleges. Now, but then as I thought about it, I went, no, but actually this is part of his ego too, because I think some of what this is he's putting this out there so either A, someone will come a-calling. Another college will be like, we'll be happy to take you. And in fact, we'll give you a academic scholarship or something. He was angling for that. Or he was angling for more media time, and to have someone be like, oh, they won't accept you. Well, you could come be, our teen correspondent for da-da-da-da-da, or you can come speak at our organization's various events around the country. I think the entire thing was to angle for not having to go to college or for getting a free ride to college, which I didn't think either of which was really going to happen. But I do think that he'll be around for a little bit and he'll make some money on the circuit, shilling for libs. But his 15 minutes is dying out kind of fast, so he better work hard.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty sure his flash in the pan's about done. And as far as him apparently being shocked that he kept getting rejected from colleges, the kid wasn't even smart enough to use a browser with spell check.
I know. It has already been a little... I don't know. It has surprised me that he time and time again misspells so awfully on all of his tweets. So I'm like, oh, maybe he's just trolling. Maybe he likes for everyone.
Well, no, see, that's the thing though. If you look, depending on a certain time of day, there are tweets that he puts out that they're perfectly spaced. They have all the right punctuation. They have all the right spelling. I'm pretty sure that's when Mom's running his account, and then the ones with all the typos and the misspellings, those are his. It's kind of like the difference between when a staffer is on POTUS's Twitter and when POTUS is on POTUS's Twitter. Just saying.
Yeah, it is. It is really obvious, and so maybe you're right. I mean, it's about time for him to get his own intern, don't you think?
I don't know. Does his mom count as an intern?
Oh, maybe he can pay his little brother, in M&Ms or something.
All right, so since we got a late start, we are actually just about out of time. Why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio with me, and then if you have anything else you want to talk about, we can do that on the way out the door.
I am at J Homestead on Twitter, and I was pissing lots of people off today. So if you want to come either laugh at them or also yell at me, come find me on Twitter. And then I'm JR Homestead on Facebook, and as always, check out misfitspolitics.com. Tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern, we will be kicking off Misfit Mischief, where it's political free fun, or if there are politics involved, it's just silly stuff like memes. So please come join us.
And there's an 80% chance the evil AI from Twitter will lock the account.
Yeah. It's funny, though. I think it usually happens after there's been some sort of update, because we haven't had it happen in a really long time. But sometimes the Misfits account will get locked from too much activity, because you're only allowed a certain amount of activity in a certain amount in X amount of time. Which, by the way, they won't really they won't release what that is. So, but yeah, you trip something that then limits your account, and so you're not suspended or anything. You just can't retweet or tweet anymore. And sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, and it's it kind of resets it. It's exceeding a certain number of retweets, comments, and likes in an hour, I think is what it is. But anyways, we never really know what that is. We hadn't had problems in a really long time, and then there was a little bit of an update done, and now all of a sudden we triggered it again last week and got cut off at about 10:30, which is usually at least an hour before we're done. So womp. We'll try not to have that happen tomorrow.
It was kind of bad. So you know what's actually happening there, right? There's some dude in his basement sitting in a beanbag chair eating a bag of Cheetos, and all of a sudden there's this little alert that goes off that says, "Danger, Will Robinson, bot alert, bot alert." Oh, that's a bot? Here, they're done.
Well, that's the thing is like, so much of it is automated now. So that's why they have those kinds of things, because they are trying to limit bot activity and spam. So I understand why. It just kind of sucks when it happens.
So I have to ask, because I know we've talked about it before, and I know that you had kind of talked about doing it, but I don't know if you ever did. Have you recently tried to get the account verified? Because that would help.
I have not. We are hoping to. We've kicked it around the idea for like a year and a half, and I think we're finally going to in the next couple of months try to settle into an actual podcast. And so I was kind of waiting to apply until we also had that established. So there's just like a few different things going on that would. I was told by someone else that having multiple media platforms kind of can help with the validity of a group account like that. So I was kind of waiting to have one more thing on the table before we applied.
Awesome.
But it seems like what really happens though is that it gets used to how we tweet, and so it doesn't trip anything for a long time. But then when an update happens, it's like it resets. So then we have some issues every now and then again. But hopefully that won't happen tomorrow. I'm going to try to make sure that we, unfortunately for our fans, that we won't retweet everything or be able to, comment on everything like we like to do. So we'll just have to be careful for a little bit to make sure that we can keep it going all night long.
Never mind. There was a perfect. That's what she.
I know, that really was.
All right, so. Honestly, what threw me off is Evan McMullen just showed up in my TL again. One of these days, I'm just going to get around to blocking that dweeb. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this particular episode. Because we did get a late start, there will not be a live off the rails tonight because it would take me about 15 minutes to get it reset, and I'm not doing a show till almost midnight on a Thursday when I got to go to work the next day. So we will see you guys tomorrow night. I don't have to work tomorrow night or the next day, other than getting up and editing stuff for California. So when we're done with Robinson and Wright, if I still have anything left in the tank, we might actually do a little bit of an extended late night off the rails edition to kind of make up for the sloppy scheduling this week. But we are out. I'm going to go do some editing, go to bed. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Friday Eve. That's right, tomorrow is Friday. If you work Monday through Friday like most of the rest of us slobs, you've been looking forward to this day all week, and it's almost here. So enjoy it. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys when we see you. Jen and I will be back next Tuesday. I'll be back with you tomorrow night, probably for at least 2 hours, and then you guys will see me again on Monday. So take care. God bless. We'll see you later.